You can come back in, sit down, and shut the fuck up until 6, or you can get the fuck out of here, right? Don't come up in my house like that ever again. And dude, it was like the cartoons, the skunk cartoons. She had hearts in her eyes and said, "Okay, boo. Okay, boo. All right, baby." Like, and she fucking fell in love with me and became a long-term client. And I'm like, damn, I had to get
That's how I met Hip.
And that's how I met Hip. I'm like, damn.
And I are super honored to be back today with the Tattoo Guardians podcast, episode number 2, kind of a follow-up from a couple weeks ago. And, you know, we've just talking lately about some really funny stories, sharing some experiences with my brother. And we just thought, like, man, there's got to be so many stories out there. We thought that we should talk about some of those things. So join us, have a few laughs, learn a few lessons, and hope you have a good time.
Thanks for watching.
Awesome.
Brothers and sisters, we can't thank you enough for all your love, your support, and your faithfulness. It's been brought to my attention, if you really want to do something to bless us, to thank us, apparently simply hitting the like button on YouTube would be more impactful than what I ever knew, let alone subscribing to us on YouTube if you're not already. And then over on Spotify and Apple, please leave us a review. All of your listening and your comments to us mean the world to us. And do us a favor and just hit like on YouTube and leave us reviews on Spotify and Apple. And we're going to continue to serve you with our whole heart. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Tattoo Guardians. I'm glad to be here with my sister again and her husband Pete Carreno. You saw them a couple of episodes ago. They're leaving in a couple of days. So we were just talking about some really funny stories. We were kind of up late at night just telling stories, and we've been in the industry for so long. We noticed we just had so much shit to tell. Like we were talking about, like, hey, we could probably write a book about this. And we thought it'd be nice to come on the podcast and just share some of the weird shit that happens at tattoo shops. I know it's happened to you guys, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Oh, I'm excited to hear their weird shit. We got weird shit, but they've been in the game longer than us. Jeez.
Sometimes I feel like maybe some of these stories, you know, we're up on what, episode 60 something now. So like, I may have told some of this. I don't remember. So if I have, shut up and listen again. It'll be cooler this time.
I love it. Yeah, because I was thinking, you know, in a previous episode, I told the penis story already.
Right. How are you going to top that?
Yeah.
You've been gone a while. Did you go get a third hole put in?
Man. No, but that's a good idea.
He got real serious for a minute. He's like, wait a minute.
I could have three screens.
That one doesn't join, though. Like, you get the two join, and then one just fucking...
Just out the side.
Yeah.
Sidebar. Yeah.
Right.
It's like the carb. You got to hold your finger over it.
One of those sprinklers. You're like one of those sprinklers.
Yeah. Man, the problem with this is most of us are also visual oriented. I feel like everyone's imagining me right now.
Everybody's thinking about your dick right now. Chime in, listeners.
Well, at least I'm not alone.
So speaking of dicks,
Yeah.
I can actually start off with a really old story. Not actually tattoo relating, but it was piercing. It was before I started tattooing, I was piercing. And I worked in this shop that was pretty large, and it had like the tattoo side of things, and then it had like a whole kind of separate wing for piercing. And this guy came in and he wanted to get his frenum pierced, which is, you know, part of his downstairs mix-up. And he was really nervous, as most of them are.
Yeah.
And so he was like,
too.
do I need to be hard? And I was like, oh God, no. Like that's a terrible idea. I'm like, don't worry, that's not going to happen. Like, you don't need to be worried about that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it set it up a professional doctor's office style. I told him to go in, remove his pants, and cover himself with a drape, just like he would at the hospital.
Yeah.
And I had to go get some forceps from the autoclave. So I told him I would be back in a minute and give him some privacy. I went and got the tools I needed. 45 seconds to a minute go by. I go back to the room and I do the little polite knock before I enter the room. And I'm expecting him to be on the table, and he's not. And he's fully naked, and he's sitting in the corner of the room on my stool that like I would have used. So his naked balls
and butthole
and all of the accoutrements are all like just there on the chair. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on because his back is turned to me And then I see like this slight vibration and I'm like, oh my God, he's actually doing what I think he's doing. And he had my trash can in the corner and he literally was just going to town. And
He's like, don't look at me, don't look at me.
But he was like naked and hunched over. So it was like
Smeagol?
like a Smeagol effect. And I just like, it just took me by such surprise. I'm like,
Well,
oh
I
my
bet.
God, what are you doing? You know? And he turns around and he was like, I had a boner. And it's like, that doesn't justify any of the actions that you're doing right now. And I kicked him out, but it was like, I just, it's been like 20 years, I think, since that happened. And that just sticks with me. That visual will never go away. And it's honestly one of the stories. And I'm like, I wasn't tattooing, thank goodness. But, it was pretty jarring. So I'll start it off with
I
that.
forgot to tell her this was a kid's show.
Well, you're going to learn sometime.
An Oscar Mayer wiener, guys. That's crazy.
Damn.
So, yeah, I mean, have you guys ever had any experiences with clients like being overly sexual or like awkwardly?
I think in the piercing world, I've seen it more personally.
I know Matt hasn't pierced, but have you all three pierced?
I don't,
No.
She was a piercer.
Off the books.
I've never. Well, no, I did train to pierce a little bit, but I was never too into it.
Yeah, I never pierced either. I assisted a couple times, and I'm like, this is
It's weird to me, like when she's telling the story, like just in general, people's like self-awareness. Can you imagine doing that, right?
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine just. She definitely wants me jacking off in her room right now. It's jack off o'clock.
and I was like, I'll be right back. Like he knew I wasn't going to be gone long, and I'm like,
And
that's
you
ambitious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's
Some,
just
some are quicker than others.
Yeah. And it's weird because, a story like that, it's like, it seems like he was hoping you'd be into that.
Yeah.
He knows you're coming in.
Yeah.
He knocked.
Yeah.
He heard you coming
Right.
in, and he's doing that hoping you're going to be into that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so I can relate to that. I've had so many clients, male and female, but a lot of females over the years that kind of came at me that way, even if I'm doing like a whole rib piece. And so I take them back into the piercing room because they'd have to take their bra off and stuff for me to draw on with markers and stuff. I've always kept it professional. And so many dudes used to be pissed at me because for most male tattoo artists, some of these girls are their dream clients, willing to do anything. I mean, I've had so many women throw themselves at me, offer me sex blowjobs for tattooing, where most guys would be like, hell yeah. And that was just never my thing. And to each their own, like there's no judgment, but that never did it for me. And I remember because there would be certain girls kind of throwing themselves at me, and I would keep it so professional. I could tell that their self-worth started to drop because I wasn't like hitting on them. And they switched to almost, I could tell in their head, wondering like, well, what's wrong with me? Why isn't he like, and I would pick up on that. And so professionally, even this one girl, I could tell she was so bummed that I even paid her a compliment. And I think I even told her like, hey, you've got really nice breasts, like trying to like build her confidence back up. Like just trying to give her something.
Great tits.
But but and I almost felt bad for them, but so many of my other dudes were like pissed at me like I'm the ultimate cock blocker of myself. You know what I'm saying? Jeez.
Yeah.
If they'd have picked any other artist, boy, it'd have been on. But I literally was so immersed in the tattoo, in this profession, in the piece I'm trying to do. I didn't give a fuck. Like I've seen titties before, whatever. I'm fulfilled. I didn't. But
They leave and Matt grabs a trash can and goes to the corner of the room.
Just strips off his shirt immediately.
Matt's like, I think I need to go get pierced. Wait a minute, what time frame?
But there was, and a few of those turned into stalkers. Like, I had a few female clients that turned into stalkers. I've got a tattoo of a cross behind my ear. And once one of my female
I didn't even know you
clients,
had
I was going to say you have ears.
That's right.
They're not just like melted in with the dreads.
That's right.
It's just
swear.
face.
I know people think I'm full of shit, but I swear I got ears. No, and once I had to tell this girl, like professionally, like, hey, you're a great client. I consider you a good friend, but that's kind of where, it stops. Boy, she just turned complete psycho. And it was like the next day she's in at the booth next to me, getting tattooed by another artist, getting the exact cross behind her ear, and just glared at me while she's getting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just
Wow.
weird shit,
Yeah.
For sure. I've had my fair share of stalkers, male and female, for years. And that's when I had to learn, because a lot of times my niceness has been misconstrued as something more,
Yeah.
I always
It's
get her
hard.
telling
Yeah.
me that. She's
Yeah.
like, this girl comes up and gets tattooed by you. She's got this tight thing, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm too oblivious to that. I didn't even, because I'm so professionally driven. Like, that's never been a thing to me. Because
Yeah.
I don't know. It just never has been.
Well, I
so
think-
then she's like, well, she was totally hitting on you, and like,
Yeah.
because she's always tattooing next to me, or she's in like the next booth or next room, and she was like, that girl was totally flirting with you. I was like, I didn't even realize it. Like,
Man.
Yeah, I never. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Nikki will tell me that. Even like guys will hit on me, and she'll be like, "That guy was down," and I'm like, "What?"
Right.
Like I was at
Yeah.
Safeway. I was shopping at Safeway, and I was like at the like hostess area where there's Twinkies and cupcakes. I'm a sucker for that crap. And a guy came up and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Do you want to come over to my house?" I'm like, "I need an adult."
That's when you just crash the cart. And
Yeah, I just crashed it. Yeah, for those actually, if you don't follow my Facebook, or if you go, I guess when this airs, you'll see it back in time. But I am not walking the greatest nowadays. I can't walk very far. I have some sciatica, which I'm hoping is just normal sciatica and not a tumor pushing on the nerves. But so anyway, so when I go grocery shopping, I ride one of those little scooters. And so today I was riding around in it and I made the mistake. This is why I don't have a driver's license, by the way. I looked back because I thought I knew where something was, and I crashed into an end cap of like gift cards. And it was fucking amazing. It was like fireworks were going off. You know? Somehow my backup beeping thing wouldn't turn off. But it was entertaining for sure. So
Damn, I love that. Oh, I wish I could have seen that, boy.
Same. I kind of want to go to that store tomorrow and be like, can I see the,
I see the
surveillance
footage?
Like,
it was so loud. It was so loud, and like all the gift cards fucking came crashing down, and I was just like, oh, so that's happening,
Did you kick it in reverse? Because a lot of them things are like beep, beep.
Yes.
You know?
But it was like really slow, so I just
Like, back it up, Terry.
So I basically fucked the store up and was like, peace out.
I got you, bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went and got pierced awkwardly. So when I opened I think we talked about it on the past podcast, but when I opened Mom's Tattoo, the guy that I partnered with was like a pseudo carpenter. And so he built a lot of furniture for us. Do you remember Butch?
Yeah, I remember.
And so we had a checkered floor, and he wanted to make like this L-shaped seating area, but he made it just solid white. And for whatever reason, it just kind of blended into the floor. And so we put up a security camera mainly because we just wanted to watch the comedy happen. Every day somebody would come in and not see this bench and just fucking eat it. Just eat shit. So one of my I know I sound terrible, right? Like, watch this guy get hurt. You would have laughed too. But this one guy really liked a certain piece of flash on the wall and was walking by the shop, and he was like, "Let me show you real quick." And he came into the shop like really fast and like ran over towards the flash and just fucking shinned to the fucking bone, flipped over, landed on his teeth.
Damn it.
And we would just watch the video surveillance in like slow motion. Right here, watch this part. So
That reminds me, do you remember at that shop? So it was in like a little strip mall, and there was a payphone that was right there. And somehow we got the phone number to that
pretended
payphone.
we were a radio station.
Yes. So like this guy, he's
You want to tell
walking.
it? Yeah.
You can. I mean,
Oh, well.
you know the whole thing, but
Well, yeah, this is brilliant. I'm so glad. So yeah, we got the phone number to this payphone across the street. It was in front of Burger King.
you could see it. I mean, very clearly.
You could see the payphone, and we would wait for people to walk by, and we would call the number. And when they answered, we were like, "Hey, this is KW12 party. Party people. We got a van driving around, and if you can do some crazy shit, we'll give you free Pearl Jam tickets." And the guy was like, "All right."
Like,
So we're like, "You gotta like take off your shirt, And
You got to go out to the median.
Go out to-
because
to
the car is driving, so the car has to be able to see you and identify you. So you got to go out to the middle of the road.
So we would get these strangers to whip their shirts off, stand in the median, fucking woo, like throwing shit, like just doing all gang signs, like I don't know, like everything. And they thought they were going to be on the radio, and of course the van never pulled up.
And then it just never happened, and you could just see them slowly deflate. Because they didn't have cell phones, so it's not like we were on with them the whole time. It was just this residual phone. It was like you have to make an impact. We would tell them what to do, and then they would go try to do it, and then come back. They leave the phone hanging. You know what I mean? I don't know. It sounds terrible when we say it again. Yeah, it was really funny.
My idea for this podcast was like, this will be fun, and now I'm like, we're really mean. Like, we're fucking horrible people.
Human beings.
Yeah. I was thinking about telling the story how when people used to walk by the shop and ask us for cigarettes, we would ask them to do 25 push-ups, and you'd be surprised how many people who smoke that don't have cigarettes can't do 5 push-ups. Yeah. So they'll get to 5, and they'll be like, man, I can't do any more. So you'd literally break off, like, you don't get the whole cigarette, you get 5 push-ups worth of cigarette.
I can see on the they're like 1, 2, 3. Oh.
Like 3 gets. But yeah, now saying it, it's like, God, what a dick.
Yeah, looking back, I'm like, we're just mean. To our listeners, please make us feel better and write in with your stories.
I was going to say, please tell us
we
something.
Cannot be alone, right? So where that payphone was at was in front of a Burger King, and I remember going over there, and we put a sign on the Burger King menu, the drive-through menu, that said, if you can peel out from here to the window, you get a free Whopper. And we would just be tattooing, and we just hear, and we're like, man, I wonder if he made it.
I wonder if that dude got a Whopper.
He walks in, where's my Whopper?
I mean, it was like, these are street shops, you know what I mean? So we just were kicking it, like waiting for the next.
Yeah, this was like over 25 years ago.
Yeah. You could be mean then. I guess now it sounds kind of bad.
People were always assholes. It's not just
recently.
Go ahead.
I just wouldn't be opposed to bringing that fucking Burger King drive-through thing back.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know.
You're going to do it tomorrow, aren't you?
Well, and I mean, because I leave here, it's fucking 10 p.m. It's
doing it tonight?
It's 11, yeah. So I totally could do it to fucking gas station or fast food joints because their shit's closed.
And you don't know how funny it is until you do it. When you hear.
But here's the thing: I won't be able to reap the benefits because I don't live.
It's not like across the street from the
shop. You got to be there, man. It's fucking way better.
Do it on a day off and just camp out with like a GoPro and film it
the goal is to befriend the people that work at that Burger King and wait for them to tell you the story of some dude that peeled out in the drive-thru one night. That's the long game.
I just picture like an arm with just a Whopper just reaches out. Congratulations, sir.
Like glowing.
Golden Whopper comes out.
The fucking tires are smoking.
Or just Whoppers land on your windshield out of nowhere.
He just gets his Whopper and he's like, fuck yeah, I'm going to get pierced.
Hell yeah.
There's this girl piercer I just been waiting to jack off in front of.
I don't even care if I get the piercings. Oh, man. I'm going to sit in her chair. I'm going to do this in her chair.
I hope you Matticided your chair.
I think I probably set it on fire.
I'd fucking burn it. Yeah, I'd burn the chair.
I don't think I ever had a relationship with that chair.
It was real musty.
Yeah.
Smells of leather-bound books.
That guy now is a camp counselor.
Right. I hope he's like randomly listening as he's putting his lipstick on. He's just like, wait a minute.
I remember.
Hip, you gotta have something for us, Hip.
I mean, dude, not really. Like I've only, I've been tattooing. I'll have 9 years in August, and it's like I'm thinking about like these sexual encounters, and I can get on Pete's train, and it's like, maybe
you're oblivious too.
Maybe I'm oblivious. Maybe when shit gets real crazy and hectic, because like. I lived in chaos, so like I got clean and fucking when shit gets crazy, I kind of like slowly back off into the distance,
Right.
Because I've had enough confrontation with shit. So maybe I'm just alert of that shit and don't let it happen or don't want to be around it when it happens because I can't think of nothing. It's like the okay, so I'm sitting here trying to think back and like when I was using coils, what's that the thing that makes it hot? The capacitor or the
that makes the machine hot.
yeah. If it blow the little fucking
there is a capacitor, but it's not supposed to make the machine hot.
Well, if it fries itself, the coils will start getting hot.
I have had one blow up on me, and the little pieces came down on the client. That was also hilarious. Yeah.
Well, mine did that, and it melted the glove into my skin while I was tattooing a fucking Karen, some young chick wanting like a goofy Pinterest tattoo, and she had bad halitosis, but she was hot. So like the halitosis, the fucking melting hand, the hotness
I can still see
outweighed
the black latex melted into your hand now.
Dude, I actually do have a scar from it.
Oh, shit.
Because I had to peel the glove off and the shit was melted to my skin. But it was just annoying. Her friend, I was young at tattooing, and like her friend was sitting on the massage table too, moving around, and like I know the tattoo looks wonked as fuck, dude. We were just talking about trenched ass lines. I'm sure her shit's fucked up. But like I guess that's as crazy as I can get it. And I know, like, for our listeners, they're probably thinking, like, oh, come on, Hip, you can do better than that. But, like, I literally can't fucking think of some off-the-wall shit.
I'm going to tell you, I've got 33 years in the game, as everybody knows, so I'm going to give you some ideas so you can have some fun. You can join us when we have round 2.
That's right.
Now, I would do shit like, for a little bit, like, we had a fucking... you come in and like you start shaking your ink bottle and can't pour it out because I would put ink caps in the back into the bottles, or I would fucking put Vaseline all over shit and then fucking wrap it up in saran wrap, kind of like that fucking white elephant game that they play at Christmas where they just have a big ball of saran wrap. They're like, "Where's my machine?" And I'm like, "Unwrap that motherfucker."
Right. And there's no machine in there.
Oh, it's in your drawer.
It's a Whopper. So here's a really fun one. Now I haven't done Flash in so long, but you guys do Flash ever at your shop?
Just custom usually.
No, we did once or twice for like a benefit, but yeah.
Yeah. Any of you listeners that have the street shop, fucking that's awesome still. I love that stuff. Just for fun, put a sold out sign on one of the sheets of Flash. You would be fucking amazed at how many people would be like, oh man,
that one's sold out, really?
And then like work with them and be like, well, we might have it in a medium, but you're looking like maybe a small.
It might be available in a couple weeks.
Yeah, check back. I can order that for you.
Yes.
You know, you can't get this shit on Amazon, dog.
Yeah.
So that's a really good one. I love the idea of the Vaseline and stuff, but fart machines go a long way, man. We used to have a fart machine. You know, it's just a little machine that makes different fart sounds, and you got a remote. We would put it like actually in the bathroom, and so like a client would go in there. And I remember one time,
it's a small bathroom.
Yeah, I remember a client went in there, and the batteries had like kind of run down, so it was like real wet, long farts. And I remember I pushed the button, and the guy was like, "I haven't even sat down yet."
I think it was the same shop that we worked at where. Yeah, we like put fireworks underneath the door. We knew he'd been in there a minute.
I'm kind of surprised I didn't get arrested a couple times.
Just like the little tiny like black cat ones, I think they are. So it was just really loud. And then this also the same shop. We would tell people, they're like, "Can we use the bathroom?" Or like, "Oh, it costs 50 cents or a quarter or whatever." And then at the end of the day, we'd go in there to clean it, and there'd be like a collection of change in the back of the toilet. Like people thought we were serious.
I just left it on the counter.
Yeah.
This is probably killing Matt because Matt runs such a tight shop, but I don't
no,
really do it.
Well, dude, I've been in the game long enough to like
exactly,
some doozies for sure. It don't matter what type of shop because we can't control everybody that comes in our doors and all the different walks of life and the crazy fucks to the dumb fucks to the Karens. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a slew of them for sure.
I remember a girl saying, you know, what's the price on this particular tattoo? And I gave it to her, and she literally said, "But I'm hot, and you get to touch my body."
My God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not that hot.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, that makes you a whore. You know? Hold on to this fart machine.
Yeah. it's times like that where my rate immediately just doubled.
Absolutely.
When someone has an
you know, it's
entitlement like that, you know.
Yeah.
There was one dude that came in the shop. You know, we're all busy. Most of us are already booked, and he was entitled as fuck. He wanted a tattoo on his thigh, and he wanted it right the fuck now. And he went all down the line. I was tattooing, and I could see him just pissing off every artist.
Oh, man.
All the way down the shop. You know, because it was more than just him inquiring. He was like almost like demanding to get served now. Yeah. And I saw him get to the end, and he was with Joe Brenner, who's, you know, been in the game 20 plus years. And he had pissed everyone off. I can't believe he didn't get his ass beat. And Joe Brenner looked at him and said, look, man, ain't nobody in here trying to fuck with you. The only shot you got is the dude up at front. And he was pointing to me. He's like, he's the only dude in here that walks in some love. He might be the only one that won't beat your ass. Go talk to him. You know what I'm saying? And this dude came.
Just walk up and give him a hug.
Right. So this dude did come to me, and he even was like pushing my buttons. And after I first thought he was just fucking with me. Once I realized he was for real, you know, and I still was professional, and he kept pushing to the point where now he's even got me pissed off. And not only that, because guess what, guys? I didn't say that I couldn't. I just told him I'm fully booked, but if he wants to come back at 2 a.m., that I would take him at 2 a.m. That's me going the extra mile, right? And so then he asked, you know, for a quote, and I think I said like $250, right? And this was like 15 years ago. And he immediately was like, well, someone else in here said $200. I'm like, well, fucking go back to them then. You know what I'm saying? And because I knew they weren't trying to fuck with him. And he kept pushing. I'm like, I'm sorry, did I say $250? It's now $5.
Yes.
And he kept talking shit. And so then I was like, well, now we at $750. And he kept talking shit, and I kept going up. Finally, when I got to 1,000, he shut the fuck up. And at this point, I didn't care if I ever saw him again.
Right.
But he showed back up at 2 a.m. And I
Damn.
you know.
With the cash?
With the fucking cash. You know, all Colada pinned out and shit.
The forgotta
talking
pins.
shit. And I always try and see the good in people, and this dude was a tough one. I'm surprised he don't get his ass beat every day.
He might have been that
does.
dude that made that post we fucking read last week, Josh.
Man. Well, and so, you know, even him, I had to check him. And it's weird because there's certain people that only hear you once you get to that level. Like, when I finally got red with him and checked his ass and charged him way 5 times what his tattoo should have been worth, only then did I get his respect. And that dude fell in love with me and became a client for years and respected me in the game ever since. You know, but on day one, he had to fucking learn. I charged him 5 times. Yeah.
For a split second there at the end, I thought you were going to say, and that's how I met Hip. I would have been fucking blown away. Right?
It is. Like, just splice that and edit this in. And that's how I met Hip.
I would have fucking been like, I'm out. That's the best thing I ever said. Rather than being rickrolled.
I have a crazy entitlement story.
Is it the one with my client?
Yeah. So, like, Pete was doing a couple of years ago this regimen
fucking guy
where he would wake up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. He would go mountain bike for between 10 and 15 miles on average. And then he would go kayak immediately after that. So he would have this all done before he would come home, shower, and then get ready for his full work day. And he was super dedicated to it. And he would document it on social media a lot and was really inspirational about it and stuff. And I remember this guy emailing saying he wanted to get in with Pete, and I was handling the emails at that time, and so I was like, okay, he's booked out, this many months. This is the soonest he can get you in, and he wasn't having it. He just was like, no, I need to get in sooner. I'm like, I'm really sorry, it's just not even an option. And he goes, I see him waking up at 4:30 in the morning. If he can do that, he can fucking find time to tattoo me. And I lost it. I'm a pretty nice person, but that was nope, you aren't getting tattooed by anyone that I know.
Now Pete's not fucking touching you ever.
I could not believe it. I actually took a screenshot of that and I emailed it to every artist in my area and was like, don't work with this dude. Look at how he is responding to this. And I was so appalled by it. I could not believe it. But he was like, yeah, he can wake up that early.
If he can wake up at 4 a.m. to mountain bike, he can tattoo me.
He's like, I'm more
He can find
important.
time to tattoo me. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Man.
It's so weird to me how people don't seem to understand when you say you're busy.
Right,
Like
right.
even when I met my wife, she came in, 20 something years ago, and she was like, I'd like to get a tattoo. And I'm like, well, I'm booked up, but maybe Ricky can tattoo. And she goes, you're not doing anything now. I'm like, bitch, I'll marry you. But I talked to her about it nowadays, and she's like, I just didn't know how it worked.
Yeah,
You
right.
know what I mean? But it's like, what do
Yeah.
you tattoo like, little intervals between tattoos, like little, I don't know. It's weird. People just don't
is,
get,
man.
I guess they get it in their head, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
getting tattooed.
I'm getting it today.
I'm going to
Yeah.
go
It's
across the
happening.
street. I'm going to peel out. I'm going to get that Whopper.
Right.
This is happening,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Like the entitlement, like, Hip, you were just talking about it. Like well, we talked about it on the podcast, the super entitled.
Yep. Yep.
God, it's crazy. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
mind blowing to me.
That you were
is.
talking about.
Yeah. We talked about it on podcast. It's
Yeah.
just ridiculous. This is
Well,
a
and
real
people
person.
think that we're tattoo artists, and it's like, so if we don't have a machine in our hand and our head down tattooing, then we're obviously not working,
Right. I remember a woman said to me, she was like, "You're a really good artist." She's like, "You should go out and be a real artist." Like,
Yeah.
or what do you do for real money? It's like, I don't like, they think I'm
what's your real
tattooing for
job?
beer money,
Right.
and it's like, it's fucking weird.
I actually just had somebody recently that was like, how long have you been tattooing? And I'm like, almost 17 years. And she goes, well, if you want anybody to practice on, I'm like, 17 years. Like, if I haven't figured it out by now, like, I really should just,
She's like, is it the sharp end of the needle that goes in, or
Still figuring it out after
Right.
17 years.
do I do
I-
my hands like this?
I get that shit all the fucking time, and I get people that like I was scratching on, or I'd done some shit in prison, and we've been friends the whole time, from start of my career till now, and they'll recently just start popping up, and they'll be like, now they'll come back and are willing to fucking pay the rate that it was back when we fucking scratched it on,
Yeah.
and want me to finish it because now I'm good. And then they hear like the new rates and shit and how I operate, and they get offended by it. And I'm like, hey, dude, like you're the one that let a fucking dope fiend tattoo you. Like that's not
They're all,
on
can
me.
I have a touch up?
Yeah,
It's like 20
right.
years later.
Yeah, right.
Can I have a touch up on the syringe you tattooed on
Just
me?
the blue right here.
Yeah.
Man.
Remember we did this behind the dumpster?
Right.
And you said, speaking of entitlement, and you're saying if people don't see a machine in your hand, then you must be available right now. But I even had an entitled client, and she was my 6 o'clock. Now, and she shows up at 4, and I'm working on the person on my 2 o'clock, right? Now I'll be done and ready for her at 6. She shows up at 4, and she's itching, and she's ready, and she's like, and she's ghetto, and she's like, hey, I'm here. I'm like, well, cool. And it made me sweat. I hate it when people show up early, right?
Right.
And
Like, even though, yeah, it's you're in the right,
Consider
but you
it.
still feel it. You totally
I
feel it.
do, and I thought this is so early, like maybe there's a communication. So I wanted to confirm with her. Oh, honey, your appointment's at 6. Do you remember it was at 6? She's like, yeah, I'm just ready now, though. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
I'm ready.
oh,
You can
okay,
get
but-
unready
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. And so I was like, well, that's cool, but I'm working on this person right now, but I'll be good to go for you at 6. She sits down and just starts rocking and staring at me and starts like talking shit. Basically, like
Nope.
wants me to just get that person out of my chair because she's here and she's ready now. And I was polite with her. I was cool. I was trying to cut up and be like, oh, why don't you go get some dinner or something? Girl, I got you. It'll be at 6, though. Trying to be cool, right?
You're
And
already
she's-
complimenting her. You're like,
Man,
nice tits.
yeah, right. Hey, you and them titties come back in 2 hours. Right? But anyways, she kept pushing and devaluing like the moment that this client deserves. And I finally had to like ask her just to like cut it. And she started like talking shit to me in front of everybody. And so just calmly, I asked my client, I was like, hang on real quick. I just degloved and I stood up. I walked out front and I had her come out with me, And it takes a lot to get me here, but I got red as fuck and I just got in her face and basically let her know, like, you don't ever fucking come up in my house like this and tell me what the fuck time it is. This is my house. So you got 2 options. You can come back in, because I'm a man of mercy. You can come back in, sit down and shut the fuck up until 6, or you can get the fuck out of here, right? Don't come up in my house like that ever again. And dude, it was like the cartoons, the skunk cartoons. She had hearts in her eyes and said, okay, boo. Okay, boo. All right, baby. Like, and she fucking fell in love with me and became a long-term client. And I'm like, damn, I had to
And that's
get
how I
to-
met Hip.
And that's how I met him. I'm like, damn. Some people don't hear any other language. No you got to get red and get half
Yeah.
ghetto with
Well,
a motherfucker to all of a
and
sudden
to-
respect
fully.
it. You
And
know?
even if not knowing you, like to have you
Right.
of all people to get like that, that's some
Right.
real shit.
I know it, dude.
I can't picture it. I've heard a couple stories, but
Yeah.
I hope I'm not ever in that wrath. You know what I mean? But I
Right.
just, you really
Yeah.
got to push you to get there.
Man,
You know?
I know, and she forced me. But instead of her being offended, she fell in love and respected me every day after that. I'm like, geez,
Wow.
okay, you know.
Nice.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
we deal with it so much. I think we kind of forget sometimes that a lot of people don't know and
Yeah.
are intimidated by tattooers and tattoo shops. And I'd like to think that part of the struggle is that, and that people aren't inherently just shitty human beings. But you know,
Yeah.
that's all about educating and trying to
It
talk to
is.
people and letting them know, like, hey, it's not okay.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
whatever you do in your life, whatever, but this is a
Yeah.
different.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got it
Situation.
twisted. You ain't in your house. This is not your house. Don't
I
come
love
up
that,
in
by
this
the way.
motherfucker.
I love
You know what
I
I'm
love how
saying?
you're saying house. I love that.
Yeah.
That's right. Don't come
Right.
up in my house like that. Fucking,
Yeah.
That's why I took her out of my house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? For real. Damn.
Good for you.
know,
Good for you.
Another fun one though, I always I got the honor this a couple years ago of tattooing a good old boy. This man could have been old enough to be my grandpa, and it was his first tattoo, and he was having me do a portrait of his father, but he wanted a little mix up because in their heritage he was also Native American, so he had an old photo, black and gray photo of his father, and he wanted me to put like an Indian headdress on it and some feathers and stuff. I morphed it together, and I was honored to give this man, who again could have been my grandpa, his first and only tattoo of his father and his heritage. I was great, and so I went through the whole process to educate him on what to expect, how to prepare, and just going down the list. And part of it, we always make sure you eat, right? Like it's important to eat, right?
Right.
And you always get the clients be like, "Oh, I'm good." I'm like, "Oh no, like this ain't like if you're
I'm a Viking. I don't need to eat.
I ate
pretty
last
much.
year.
Like, yeah,
It's
I'm
overrated.
fucking good. Like as if some dudes think you're saying you're a pussy, and I'm like, this has nothing to do with your pain tolerance. It's a blood sugar thing. So this dude, so he shows up for his appointment, and I even clarify, hey, did you eat? He's like, no, I'm good. He rolled, and he's a good old boy, so I'm giving him little room. He's like my grandpa, so I'm trying to respect him, but also look out for him because he don't know what he don't know. My man brings his own cooler full of a case of beer with him, and that's his nutrition for the day, right? Now, you guys already know in most tattoo shops, like, we prefer you not to be drunk or drinking beforehand, let alone during, right? And I gave this dude a pass, and he's sitting there cracking fucking Busch Light cans all day while I'm tattooing him. And I was the manager of the shop at that time, and already my own people were like, look, and I was just like, it's cool, I'm giving this man a pass. But I couldn't get him to eat. And even when I broke for dinner, and I ordered pizzas, multiple ones, hoping I could entice him. And I knew the dude had to be hungry, but now it's his old man stubbornness. Like, he ain't fucking going to take a bite of it just because I pushed too hard on getting him to eat. And he was fucking on a liquid diet all day, and I just like, fuck it, and I just tattooed him. And the man was fine all day. When we finally finished, and it was probably a 12-hour session. And when we got, and he was a good old boy. I loved him. He was like straight from the trailer or straight from the fishing boat, whatever. Like, I loved him. But when I finished, we were done, and he unveiled it to him in the mirror. And he stood up, and this good old boy was like in tears of joy. He was so fucking proud, and he loved it. And since he was drinking all day, he called his wife to come pick him up in the minivan. It's him and his granddaughter. Well, and so when they were coming, we've already settled up, and he was just over the moon, and just so stoked. We went out front of my shop because his ride's coming. And I'm standing in front, we got a glass wall, and we're standing there. And right when the minivan pulls in, he sees his wife, the headlights, and his granddaughter. And he's like a little kid. It's a good old boy that resorted to a 5-year-old of pure joy and excitement. Can't wait to show his wife. And all of a sudden, the blood sugar kicked in.
There
and
it
my
is.
man not only just fucking eyes rolled back, and he passed out, and I saw him. He fell back, thank God. I caught him, let him slide against the glass, and there was a bench there, thank God. I caught him, he slid against the glass, and I just ushered him down into the seat. And his own wife and granddaughter had a front row seat. So they're running frantically. Now, you guys know, usually when someone passes out on us, they're out for maybe 30 seconds or less.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
This guy was out and was out longer than anyone has ever passed out on me. But I knew he was still alive because he was in the deepest. He was snoring. He was out and he was like, right? Just snoring. Now, I'm trying to be professional because his wife and granddaughter are freaking. And she's like hollering his name and shaking him. And he's just out snoring. I'm trying to comfort them and be like, oh, ladies, it's fine. This is just part of it. He's going to be fine.
Normal.
You know, this is totally normal, but internally I'm praying like, God, don't let this man die on me, right? Well, while I'm holding him and while he's snoring, this dude loses all bodily function and I can hear him shitting his pants. Right?
This is normal. This is normal.
This
Right?
is normal.
This
That's
dude, I can
happened.
tell him just like, I can tell he's full on ass blow, right? It's fucking... And like he's getting a ring around his deal, right? Now this old man had pride too. Again, he was a good old boy. He's fucking
Still
wouldn't
not
even
eating.
budge for me all day. You know what I'm saying?
Still don't want
And
that pizza.
this dude was out for maybe 3 minutes, and at the
Holy
time
shit.
seemed like eternity.
Forever.
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Even with them shaking him. But when he finally comes to, he's like, you know, he wakes up and he looks at me. He's like, oh. About dozed off there for a minute. And I played dumb, like, huh? Oh, no. Like, I didn't even notice. You know what I'm saying? Just 'cause I didn't want to hurt his ego. So I'm like, oh, no, you're good. You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, I almost dozed off there for a second. You know, but then his wife and daughter's like crying. It's like, you were out for, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, no, it's cool. You know, I didn't want his ego to hurt. And so I, you know, and I went to help him up just to shake his hand. Like, man, it was my honor. And you could see it in his eyes when he moved and he realized,
Yeah.
he's got shit in his pants.
He done fucked up.
He done fucked up. But I am
This
not going
moment,
to be.
Daryl knew.
I'm not going to be
The
the
shit
dude.
literally
When
got
keeping
real.
it real goes wrong.
You know, and I'm not
Wow.
going to be the guy to be like, I fucking told you so. I played dumb for his ego and acted like none of that happened. Shook his hand, told him it was an honor, and sent him away with his family.
Yep.
Walked back in, but you know that's one of those times where it's like, oh, you gonna learn today, boy.
All right.
You want some
tag-
pizza to go home with you?
Was he ever a repeat client after that?
Never saw him
Probably
again.
not.
Yeah, because if he was, it'd be
Yeah,
like,
never.
who you working on today? It'd be like, Daryl.
Yeah.
Oh, shitty Daryl?
So that completely reminds me of a one with me. So it was aisle 9 was open and a big fucking dude come in. And for our listeners, if you haven't seen me in person, I'm 6'5", so I'm not short by any means. And this dude was probably damn near a foot taller than me. He wanted a tattoo on his chest. It was his first long session, and it was another fucking, you know, football numbers in the hours. So 10, 12-hour session. He was drinking a sweet tea from McDonald's, and his wife would go and refill it. And I couldn't get him to eat. At the end of the session, he didn't settle up yet, but he's sitting there, and I'm putting the derm on him, and his wife's sitting there, and we're all kind of cutting it up, and the shop was full at the time. Matt was there and a bunch of other artists, and it was late at night. Well, I put the last piece of derm on, and I see him look at his wife, and he's like, honey, and I knew what that meant, so I fucking just bear hugged him and fucking carried him over the best I could and set him down in another booth beside us. Well, he's sitting there like, you know, we got him to come back too, and his wife's sitting with him. We went in and cut him up an orange, got him some water, and he's eating it and drinking it. Well, I proceed to go into the kitchen, and we're just in there chatting and talking it up, and Matt tells that exact fucking story while he's still sitting in there trying to regain energy to fucking leave. So we're all laughing, and they can hear us talking about this dude shit his fucking pants, da-da-da-da-da-da. So I go to check on my client after we're all laughing and cutting it up, and he's standing up. His head's down. He ain't making no eye contact, hands me a fucking wad of money, and he's like, thank you, and he shook my hand and left. As he turned around to leave, he shit his pants, and I could totally fucking smell it, and everyone else could smell it, and his wife was ashamed. It was just like, oh my God, and they rushed out, and I remember being red in the face, and I'm like, oh, he probably thinks we were talking shit about him.
Right.
So, yeah, that's...
There's that affirmation that we're all assholes. Thanks for the reminder.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's why to this day it's non-negotiable. If you don't eat, I'm not tattooing you. Even though when people try and be like, "Oh, I'm good," I'm like, it's happened so many times where I'm like, well, I'm not even fucking putting gloves on till you do.
Lesson learned.
But the weirdest one, I had a guy in my chair and I was working on an underarm. You know, us as artists, if we're focused on the piece in their arm, I'm not making eye contact with them the whole time, you know. But over the years, I was able to almost in the spirit, like discern and pick up. I could feel their energy shift without seeing it. So now I can feel someone on an energetic level. If they start to go south, I can feel it energetically, and I'll look up and it's confirmed and I know. But now I can sense it to where I can stop it beforehand on an energetic level to save them and prevent it from even happening. But it's taken years of practice of me honing the skill of being that sensitive to their energy. But this one dude, literally, because most people stay put, this dude fell out and wanted to take off running, like into a dead sprint. And his eyes are closed. He's passed out like he's in a dream state. And he's like, no! And he hops out of his chair to take off sprinting. I fucking jumped up, grabbed him by his chest, slam him back into and I'm just holding on to him. And he's going like this. Ah! You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm just like holding him in place so he doesn't hurt himself. He's like, oh, you know, and finally he comes to and he's crying and everything. And it was like the most traumatic. He had the worst nightmare, and he's like, he had dreamt that him and his whole family got in a car wreck. And it was like the worst dream. But I'm sitting here in the tattoo shop, and the whole shop's looking like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here? Wow. And that's like, enough of those. I'm like, you're fucking eating. You know? Like, damn, dude. Crazy shit, man.
I remember we used to always have those little like benzic, whatever they were, like we tape it to
the ammonia. Snaps,
Did you guys have those?
Yeah.
Pop those open? Yeah.
Yep. I like
Didn't
to get
you have
people
somebody
when they're
that
sleeping
like
with
brought
those.
their own cup to the appointment?
Have brought their own cup to the appointment, but didn't tell me that the cup. I think
He
it was
just
a
was
big
sipping
gulp.
on it the whole time. We were like, "Did you eat?" And he was like, "Yep, I stopped in." And that's actually he was a little late.
Yeah, and he stopped and he was like, "Yeah, I got my stuff," but like he ended up passing out, pissing himself, and then he left his cup there. I went to go throw the cup away, and I went to go empty because I went to throw it in the garbage, but I went to go empty the liquid first into the sink, and as soon as I opened it. Like it hit me like booze, like
Pure
straight bourbon.
It was Fireball.
Whatever it was,
Pure.
Fireball.
No ice, no soda, nothing.
But when he came in, I noticed it was full, and it was only a little bit left. But the whole appointment, he was fucking slamming. Like I figured it was a fucking Diet Coke because it was like a Burger King cup.
Right. Yeah.
But then I was like, we put it together, and we was like, that was it. That's why he passed out.
He kept like pulling his shirt down, like Pete's tattooing. his
I'm
arm.
tattooing him, and he's pulling his shirt over where I'm trying to do.
What the
He
fuck?
put a
What are you
dip, and then
doing,
you come back,
dude?
and there's like a shirt sleeve over it.
He dips and comes back as a different guy drinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
The crazy shit, man. Speaking of that, it reminded me of this chick. I was tattooing her fucking shoulder, and all of a sudden, when it got to her pain threshold and it started hurting, she quit talking, put her head down, like started pouting, which is fine. I'm tattooing her, but then she just slowly starts moving away from me, and I find myself going with her.
Playing the typewriter.
I'm way stretched, and I'm like doing this. I'm realizing, well, this ain't fucking right. So I go back. I'm like, hey,
This isn't the pendulum.
come on back here. And when I did that, because I was way stressed out, and she just headed down, was like, you know, and she was far away from me in the chair, and I stopped because my back was hurting after like 40 minutes of that. And I was like, hey, honey, come on back here. And she just stayed over there and didn't even say shit. She just got her head down. I'm like, hey, I need you to come back over. And she's just like not talking to me. I'm like, or we can take a break. You know what I'm saying? Like she's just not fucking talking to me. And I'm like, and finally I get a little shitty. I'm like, well, hey, whatever you're doing right there, it's really working out great for both of us. You know what I'm saying? Like,
You should keep doing
If you
that.
could be like
Right.
made to pass out the whole time, that'd
that's
be great.
right. Or I'm like, we can call it, you know what I'm saying? And she gets up, doesn't say a word, gets up and just walks out of the shop and calls her husband. And tells him God knows what, but almost paints the picture like I'm being mean to her. So he shows up red as hell. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, God damn, here we go, boy. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Oh, it's just weird shit. And, you know, obviously, I explained to him, and I was still trying to talk to her. Like, I don't even know why she's no longer talking to me. And, I was trying to be sweet. Like, honey, if you need to do this another date, like, we can call it right now. And that's exactly what we ended up doing. I think there was one part where he's like, no, she needs to get this finished. I'm like, well, have her sit down. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not going to chase her around.
No shit. Just weird shit. It reminded me when you're like, dude's just putting his sleeve down. And she's all like, eh.
I had a client once pay in full for the tattoo. It was like a lower back, a tramp stamp. It was her first tattoo, and she came in, she sat down. Like, I put the stencil on, everything was fine. She sits, with her back turned towards me. I start my machine. I haven't even touched her. I haven't even wiped ointment on her yet. I start my machine, and she just run. Like, do you remember the scene in Forrest Gump where he just starts running?
Yeah.
That's what she did. Like, she ran all the way out the shop. I could see her run down the street, and I look around at my coworkers. I'm like, did something happen? Did she get a phone call? I never heard from her again. Like, she paid in full. Oh, and I didn't even touch her. Like, I had stenciled her, and that was it. And we had her information. All of her paperwork is done. I called. I left messages. Nothing. I still don't know what happened to her.
Legend has it she's still running.
Still to this day.
She's real skinny because she refuses to eat. Just keeps drinking and running. So for all you newer tattoo artists that are listening out there and sound like monsters, this is kind of some good information to let you know what to, be prepared for. This stuff does happen. Like, we all cut up and have fun, but at the end of the day, we definitely still believe in that we have the best jobs in the world.
100%.
This is, I love it every day. So, yeah, we're having some fun up here and everything, but we definitely take our jobs seriously. But man, there is some crazy shit that happens.
Well, and I think it's also a good example of why you need to be really knowledgeable about your cross-contamination, because in these situations where your client is getting out of their immediate area, or if they're passing out, there's still an open wound. Like, you have to be considerate of all of those factors, and you really do need to have some type of training to be able to identify,
absolutely,
this person's not okay. What can we do to help them and keep an eye out?
What systems are shutting down?
Yeah, I had a client that passed out so hard she actually fell out of the chair and cracked open her head and had to get stitches and stuff.
So,
like, it was super serious.
Right. I don't know if you guys remember this. This was terrible, but an 18-year-old kid bagged his mom. She didn't want him to get tattooed. Finally talked her into it. There's video of this. And he got tattooed and went to pay, and he passed out and fell through the jewelry case, and he died.
Yeah.
It actually
holy shit.
He died.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just being able to recognize.
I mean, that's very rare, but like, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but these new tattooers, like, this is some real shit that happens.
And to clients who might be listening to this is why it's important to eat. And to listen to your artist, because we kind of know, most of us know what we're talking about.
You don't want to end up on the podcast like that.
No.
Right. No.
You don't want to be Daryl Shitty Pants.
Daryl Shitty Pants.
DSP, what's up in the house?
Yeah. Oh, my God. And I always
we'd love to hear some other stories of everyone else that's listening on some of the things that might have happened to you, or any questions you might have regarding, like, hey, I'm uncomfortable about this. What should I do?
Call
what
in.
Shouldn't you do?
Go to our Instagram, hit that record button.
Yeah.
We've gotten some great messages. We need to start checking those out, though, by the way, guys. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you, as always. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your stories, for sure.
Man.
What were you saying, though, Matt?
Well, obviously you all know we're big on customer service, right? Mm-hmm. But everything has boundaries and lines. Not to the point, we walk in love and customer service, we're going to serve you to the highest level possible, but not at the point of costing us who the fuck we are, right?
Exactly.
And disrespecting our own house. It's not an either or, it's an and. We're going to show you respect, but put some respect on it, right?
And I think that's sorry to interrupt you, but yes, that's something I had to learn. Like, I took good customer service too far, to the point that I was just being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't really realize it. And honestly, it was you, Matt, that taught me that. So thank you. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
have you guys ever had to argue with pregnant women about not tattooing them, and they get pissed at you? Yeah. That's happened to me a few times.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, it's not illegal, but listen, bitch, I ain't about to fucking tattoo you. You're prego.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the best thing is when you're like, are you pregnant? And because they look like it, and they're like, no.
Well, just saying pregnant or breastfeeding
you like Taco
is a good
Bell
way.
too? Hello.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah,
Oh
there's
man.
some serious stuff can come out of that. But,
Yeah.
One of my favorite ways of handling a Karen. This was years ago. And, it was a coworker. It was shout out to Kevin Rodtramble, who would just fucking shoot you straight and speak the truth. And there was an entitled Karen bitch in there. We might as well lump in. She thought she was hot and blonde and she'd been treated right the fuck now. Roll out the red carpet,
Yeah.
And she was treated and met with respect, but not any extra because you're blonde with tits, right? Whatever. And somehow in their consult and her entitlement, he wasn't playing that game, and she lost it and threw a big fit in front of everyone, causing a scene, and, pulls the old, I'm leaving. She's going out the front door. I'm leaving, and I'm not bringing my business back here or anything, almost like some sort of last moment fishing to get us to all be like, oh, no, ma'am, please calm down. Let's see if we can fix it, right? Like wanting us to, like, dote after her and be, oh, we're so sorry, you know what I'm saying? And when she was on her way out the door, instead of being like, oh, I'm sorry, come back, Kevin Rodtramble was like, well, hey, wait. Make sure, she said something like, make sure you tell all your friends and everybody who's just like you not to fucking come in here either. And I was like, oh, damn.
I love it when people can keep it real like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially that little glimmer of hope, like, oh, is this going to be it? They're going to bow down to
They're
it.
gonna
Oh, no, not today.
Because when he called her back, she's all like,
Here
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
It was beautiful.
And Josh, you just brought it up, like our listeners to call in and leave something in the DMs, voice recording. We did get a few of them, and more keep coming in. And before we started podcasting, I was going over a couple of them, and there's one that isn't going to make an episode, but I think it would be a fun question to ask.
If you think that's true, do you want to just play it and put us all on the spot? Is it a quick question? We can we got Jamie and Pete here to.
Sure.
If you just want to pose the question to us, I think it'd be even more fun that none of us even have heard it and see what kind of feedback we can give them. If you think it's like not a whole episode,
It's totally not.
yeah.
It's totally not.
Have you met any of us?
But so it comes from our buddy Million, Art of Million on
Millie?
Instagram. Yep,
Oh,
Millie.
okay, cool.
And he's asking us.
But do we got his voicemail?
We do, but they ain't going to be able to hear it if I play it in this microphone.
They ain't.
No.
Oh, Mike said play it on that mic.
Aloha, Million here. Let's say each of you is stranded on your own deserted island. You can't bring any electronics with you, but you can bring one book. What book is that?
Okay. What I heard him say is you're stranded alone on a deserted island. You can't bring any electronics with you. But what you can bring is one book.
Yep.
What
Well, I
book is
can't
that? Is that what he
read, so
asked?
thanks for embarrassing me.
There's picture books.
So yeah, Art of Million on Instagram,
A
Millie.
Hustler magazine.
Right.
We actually may have the same answer.
Yeah?
I think I know I know exactly what your book
Ooh.
is.
What's your book?
The Count of Monte Cristo.
That's definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that's definitely my favorite novel. I used to read it once a year. I don't know if you know, but it's like 3,000 pages, ridiculous. But it's always been one of my favorites. And I've talked about it so much that Pete's kind of like fallen in love with it. And there's tons of movies and stuff about it. But it's pretty interesting because the character gets banished to a prison, like
On an island.
called Chateau d'If. And it's like, Alcatraz essentially, but it's set in Marseille, France. So we actually went to France. We went to Marseille. We took a boat out to the island. We got to explore the actual real
rad.
prison. It was really cool.
Wow.
This is tattooed on me. This is Wait and Hope. It's from the last paragraph of the novel. So it would take us a minute to finish it.
It'd take you a while to read, so you definitely, it's definitely a positive book.
Yeah.
With its struggles, which I figured would be.
Yeah.
You would have on a deserted island, and it's
Wow.
your way of getting off of it, figuring out your own way.
Well,
of
also
getting
depending
off
on
that
how
fucking island.
you got on the island, like if you were wrongly put there, then it would like fuel this revenge type thing. That's kind of the underlying tone to to the story. So that would definitely be.
It's definitely an incredible story. I think the movie's great.
Yeah.
It's been a few. They've done it a couple times.
So the
throughout
main
the years.
with the
I want to say it's been done 3 times.
really
At
okay,
least
okay.
in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been done in France a couple more times than that, I believe.
So I've been in Marseille a couple of times, and regretfully I did not go. So next time I will definitely go.
Yeah, it's worth it.
It's
cool.
funny that your book was on an island because my book also would be Lord of the Flies, which is also about an island.
Yeah.
Right.
I've loved that book. You've heard me multiple times talk about how I get obsessed with things. I think that book was one of the first
Yeah.
where I was like, it's like I had to read it in school, and I was like not in the mood, so I was like, fuck this, and then like I ended up reading it on my own over the summer, and I just fucking fell in love with it.
I remember that.
I mean, most people have read it, right?
Yeah.
There's actually a really cool cover that's like an alternative cover art for it, and it's real sketchy of this like depressed kid, and I've always wanted to get it tattooed on me,
Yeah.
actually. So that's my book for sure. Lord
When
of
the movie
Flies.
came out in the 90s, did you like the film?
So that's funny. That shows how my obsession was. Like I got on a city bus
Yeah.
by myself and went and watched it by myself because nobody in my family gave 2 shits. She was too young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't like it as much as the book at all.
Right.
Because it really veered from it. Some of my favorite parts
Yeah.
were definitely taken away. You know what I mean? It was so Americanized. But there's another black and white movie that they basically use the book as the script,
Wow.
and it's really good. I'd love to see a remake of it now.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Like now, I think
Totally.
they could really make something. You know.
Dude, that's awesome. I've got to guess
You
what
could go
yours would
really
be, but-
dark with
Christopher
that.
Nolan.
And then that's what. Yes.
Man,
I
What
guarantee
about
you
you, Hip?
can't figure it out. But what's yours, Matt?
I've got a guess of what is that what you're asking me what your guess is?
Well, yeah, that and what your book is.
Well, okay, and I think I've shared this with you boys before, and this may be shocking to you, Jamie and Pete, and to all our listeners, but I, Matt Clemmer, have never read a book.
Oh my God! I did not know that.
Wow.
What?
I've
You're
never
one
So
of
read
you
a book.
can't read.
You're one of the most intelligent
can.
people I've ever met in my life, and you've never read a
Thank
book.
you, Josh. And Josh, that means the world to me because you're such a
Oh,
smart
it's
fellow
100% factual. I
Man,
can,
dude.
I can spot that. You know.
Yeah, that means the world.
easily.
And I have never read a book.
Have you like done an Audible?
I do. I just started Audibles last year.
Okay.
You know,
See, that's
I
great.
did the Alchemist and stuff. I'll listen to them since I'm not a reader. You know, and you
Alchemist
hear
is
things
fantastic,
like,
by the way, readers.
Yeah.
Listeners. I'm sorry.
I love The Alchemist, but I've only heard on Audible. It's narrated great, and I've read like The Three Little Pigs. You know,
Green
if
eggs
we're
and
counting
ham.
that, a couple
So
Dr.
I know you-
Seuss, but yeah.
I know you mentioned you had a coach tell you that you're made to write, and you were like, "I hate writing. I don't even like doing texts."
Right.
So what do you think that is? Like that you don't like writing, and you've never read a book.
Yeah.
I feel like those kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Like if you're not into
They
writing,
do.
you're not into.
Is it-
Yeah,
Does it bore
because
you? Does it
even if
bore
I
you?
write, because I'm not even into reading, like even when someone makes a post and it's full of copy, like won't read.
So
the
this
post.
makes sense then, because when I first met Matt, I would text him these really long messages, and he would always fire back with a video,
Yeah.
and he'd be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, videos are cool," like kind of hinting, and now I get it. So
I still do. I hate type. I can't type. And so if I'm text, but Josh, I've practiced this year to try and like get over my own limitations and my own stories. Like I'm not a reader. I'm not a writer. I hate to read, which has all been true. But instead of that being my story the rest of my life, I'm trying to make myself become one. And I've practiced writing, and I chose Josh as the person to practice. And one night, just to respond to one of his texts,
I
sat
know
out-
the text you're talking about. It was like
Yeah.
this long,
Yeah, and it
and like
probably
everything was spelled perfectly.
It took
Well,
him 4
dude,
days.
it's like 3 hours though. Jamie,
thank you. I
for
appreciate
real,
it.
took me like 3 hours, and I think I even let Josh know, like I'm practicing being a writer, and it was me just responding to a text thread that Josh sent me. But and you guys probably could have written that text in like minutes. It literally took me 3 hours, and I wanted to quit several times, but I forced myself. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it. I will tell you
Yeah.
something that helps me tremendously. Whenever I write a text, or if I have to write somebody and sound, good, I say it out loud, and like I will read. I'll do it in little chunks, and I'll reread it, because at the very end, your mind will give you what to say next. But if you don't read it, you'll just type like weird generic shit, right?
Right.
Or if you read through it, especially if Nikki and I do it together, you can really just start flowing better. So give that a try. Write a little manageable chunk. You know, I like that. And then read it. And then just keep going.
Do you find, because you talk to text a lot, like I
A
do.
lot, yeah.
Do you find yourself ever like leaving a voicemail?
Oh, God.
And you're like, comma.
I'm so glad you said that. I had to call. This is an important phone call for like what could be $1 million deal for me.
Man.
And I literally was like, so give me a call back when you get a chance, comma. I fucking
Exclamation
left
point.
There's nothing I can do.
Nothing. You're just like, oh.
They're going to fucking, we want to work with this guy. Peeling
I'm
out
so
for
glad.
Whoppers. Fuck. Jesus.
All right. Sorry to interrupt that, but
I'm glad
I had to know.
I'm glad you fucking, yeah. I feel a little at peace now. I was like hyperventilating for a minute.
I love it.
My whole body like went into like from my head to my toe. It was like
Just shuddered.
you know?
Yeah. My
Comma.
God. Yes.
Hyphen.
Exclamation point.
Gee.
I
Hip didn't answer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hip matters.
Kind of does.
So
Curious George.
it would be a book on like what plants to eat or like herbal
I was gonna say,
medication.
like a survival,
Yeah.
like how to live
I
on
love
this
that.
fucking
That's
island.
smart.
I thought of that too. Like, since I don't read books, maybe I just bring her a survival guide. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
You have seen Into the Wild, though, yeah?
Ooh,
is that
good
Bear
movie.
Grylls?
Yeah. I've seen
No,
it.
it's a movie about a true story.
Yeah, it's a true story about a young man who goes off on a journey on
To
his
Alaska.
own to Alaska. And
Gives all of his money away.
yeah,
and then
it's just all
goes.
about finding himself. And
Yeah.
his family was really materialistic and had a lot of issues and stuff. And it's just about his journey trying to come back from that. Really incredible story.
Good acting.
The book first, and then the movie. So I'm not going to say anything else,
No,
but you
yeah.
definitely should at least watch the movie to start with.
Yeah, for sure. We'd like to hear our viewers too. Like, what are some books you would either read or even just some books that you just love? Because I love to read myself.
You love without having read them.
Oh yeah. I love reading books. You know,
Love it.
like you said, Curious George. The thing about Curious George that's funny is that motherfucker didn't have a tail. Curious
He
George is a
didn't
monkey.
have a tail.
Does not have a fucking tail.
What if it's just wrapped up in his shirt?
It
keep him
ain't.
warm?
It ain't. It ain't. It's a belt. Yeah. How weird is that? Anyway, I'll get off that.
You brought up our man Millie earlier. Million. And that brother's so fucking golden. Not only is he a TBM graduate and alumni, but every TBM class since, Millie has sponsored someone, has stood the gap for someone else to be in TBM.
Like straight up
and
paid their fee.
sponsors,
Wow.
pays
Nice.
their way. And to be in TBM, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And not only does he sponsor others, he sponsors artists that he sees something special in that he's never even known or met in the flesh. Just see,
That's
and so
awesome.
he's sponsored a sweetheart, S.J. Warner, who's so fucking beautiful and so golden. Her life's changed all because one man saw something in her, and it was Millie, and she had to learn to receive. Like, why are these people believing in me? Who's this guy that sponsored me? Who's this fucking crazy dreadlock dude that sees something good in me? Right?
Does he have ears?
No shit, dude.
Does he have a tail?
And,
What if I
yeah.
didn't have a tail? But see, that's the thing is that Million noticed, like you said, he spotted this person. So when they're like, who's this giving me this gift?
Yeah.
They've never been treated like that.
Yeah.
That's right. And they're all
So-
now paying it forward because they've grown.
Exactly.
They've learned to receive. And so now, since they've learned to receive, they got something to give. And now they've been empowered. Now they're paying it forward and so on. And it's just, kind of like Josh, how you brought up like in the previous episode, just the gift, doing small things like being at the drive-through window and paying for the car behind you. And how much it not only blesses the car behind you, but the person working the window because they get to see how long that chain keeps going, right?
Right.
And you even inspired me and my daughter to pay for the car behind us.
I
It's the
saw that
little
video,
things that
yeah.
aren't so little, right?
Right.
But even Millie sponsoring someone turned into another sponsorship, turned into other people. And for example, S.J. Warner, who's been so blessed, her life's changed from Millie and TBM, and she was at Rock's Hunts Vegas show a couple of weeks ago when you guys were at 208, and she was there. We flew her and her husband in. I wanted to meet her in the flesh, blah blah. But she was sitting there, And she's not tattooing, but for whatever reason, she brought her machine as a just in case. Well, there was another TBM student's wife that just started apprenticing. It was Chad Pope's wife. Just started apprenticing. And for whatever S.J. Warner felt led, it was strong upon her heart, she wanted to bless Chad Pope's wife with her machine. S.J. Warner is the only machine she's got. She brought it as a justing, and now it's laid on her heart to give her one and only machine away to someone else. And she just obeyed that unction, and she went and gave it away, right? And just trusting the universe, trusting the process. Guys, don't you know not only 5 fucking minutes later, Pooch gets up out of his booth, comes to S.J. Warner, and he felt led to bless her with his machine.
Damn.
How do I get in on this?
Right. It was broken, but
immediately, like tears, like she had just gave all she had away.
And who'd you say gave it to her?
Huh?
Who'd you say gave it to her?
Pooch.
My God.
Nice.
He just got
Holy
it was
shit.
put on his heart to go
Right.
bless this woman. He didn't know her or where she was at. He definitely didn't know she just gave her one and only machine away.
Yeah.
She was led to do it. She trusted that unction. She did it. Not knowing that the universe fucking had her order coming 5 minutes later, not just coming. It was a dope machine coming from fucking Pooch, and she was blown away. Then one of our people went and told Pooch, like, the impact he just had and really the chain he was a part of. So then he got up out of the seat, came back over and, like, autographed it and signed some shit and gave her more shit. You know what I'm saying? It was just a love attack, man.
Right.
And it's just fucking beautiful. We just never know. Those little things when you feel led to sponsor somebody or do something for somebody else, and it could change someone's life and cause them to pay it forward and start a fucking chain reaction, man.
Yeah, it's like you said, if someone's on your mind, let them know. Call them. You know what I mean? Like, listen to that. Listen to that voice, you know?
Yeah. We never know the impact we're going to have. Just take responsibility. Know that you've got an impact, and then don't even be attached to the outcome. It's usually bigger than what we think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We couldn't have planned that shit. It just fucking happened right before our very own eyes. And that type of magic happens all the time, you know, around these parts. And it's just so fucking
awesome.
golden. But all that was to shout out brothers like Millie, who's walking in that type of lifestyle.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And talking about work getting better, my gosh, millions work. Oof.
Yeah. Good. So good, man. So good. Is he signed up for your class, Josh?
I believe he is. I think he was one of the really early ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
I bet so, man. So good, man. Fucking we all grow like iron sharpening iron. You know, so many people are in this lack mentality. I'm not happy unless the whole squad's winning. And by you getting better and living your best life fucking makes me better. By you rising up, it calls me to a higher place. You know what I'm saying? Jeez,
Rises all ships, you know?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
man. That's fucking what I get off on right the fuck there, man.
So that's what I was talking about earlier. We may fuck around and we got all these fun memories and these jokes and stuff, but at the end of the day, like you said, best job in the world, best opportunity to give.
Yeah.
You know, when you are financially secure, you are able to help other people out, and it doesn't even have to be finances either.
That's right. That's
you can
right.
just help somebody out.
Yeah.
You don't know
Givers
the impact it will
gift.
have on their life.
Come on,
Oh yeah,
brother.
every time Nikki really talks about it, like, you know, we'll give and she'll be like, watch what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And every fucking time,
I've talked about this a
every
lot,
time,
every
it's like it's
single
the
time.
weirdest feeling. It's like the more you give, the more you get, which you can just keep on cycling that.
Yeah.
That's right. Givers get. Now we don't give to get. It just comes with the territory.
Oh, absolutely,
comes, yeah.
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know?
You can't.
Fucking nuts. You can't outgive God. You can't outgive the universe. But
Right.
my, it's fun to try sometimes.
Right. And
Look the
source
fuck out, boy.
source is infinite, you know.
Man, to this day, scientists have not found the end of the universe. It's still going. It's still expansive. We're in a universe full of infinite possibilities. You know
And
what
this
I'm
new
saying?
satellite images.
Did you see the
Wow.
today?
Today,
Not
no.
Today there was the
No.
first nebula. I think it was the first nebula from the James Webb Telescope, and it's
unreal.
breathtaking.
So
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Other than all the crazy shit, speaking of having one of the best jobs in the world, we get to have a huge impact and be a blessing to so many people in their lives in so many different ways. You know what I'm saying? that tattoos are bigger than tattoos. They can be restoration for people. They can be healing for people. They can be
Closure.
comfort for people, closure, all of it.
Yeah.
And we get to be the vessels into all walks of life in so many ways. But don't come up in my house with no bullshit.
With that being said, Matt, that's perfect.
Yeah.
What a fucking awesome, fun show.
Thank you so much for having
thanks
us
for
again.
having us again.
Happy to have my family here.
was an honor.
Even soon. It's been amazing having them here.
Yeah.
Thanks for allowing them to join the show today.
Yes.
Thank you, listeners,
Thank
for
you guys.
listening and continuing to listen. And like I said, we'll keep doing it. You keep listening. Love you guys.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love
Safe
you all
travels,
so
guys.
much. Pete and Jamie, you're fucking awesome. We love you guys. Thanks, you
Love
all.
you guys. Cheers.
Man, what time is it? 12:14 a.m. Matt, I don't know about you, but I like coffee.
You know I do every day, all day.
Man, and I could go for one right now. So our listeners, did you know that you can buy us a coffee?
For real?
Yeah. All
Why
I
would
gotta
they do that?
Well, if you like what we do and you support our show and you appreciate our content, you can just go and click that little button that our producer Mike puts in every show and buy us a coffee just to show your contribution that you appreciate what we do for you to
Are you
help
for
us
real?
out.
People can really buy us a coffee.
Totally.
I would be honored if you bought me a coffee.
And not only that, but we got a little spot. It's special for the VIP listeners. It's called Close Friends on Instagram. And on there, you can see some behind the scenes content. And when the cameras ain't running, seeing all the shit we'd be talking about each other.
Is that true, Mike? Damn, you guys, this is the first I've heard about either of these. So they can buy you or me a coffee
Or Mr. Carlton.
or Mr. Carlton and like get a sneak peek behind the scenes
Yeah.
by doing what again?
Fucking smashing that button.
Okay. What button you talking about? I want to smash the button.
It's the button on the fucking thing.
Do it. Just do it.
Absolutely demolish the button. But thanks for your time again, and we appreciate all our listeners.
Always.